what you are basically, deep, deep down, far, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 345. Hope you're amazing as always. I really mean it, especially today. What dates are we on? Well, it's a good week, right? Because it's the end of February. It's the end of February, which means it's my birthday next week. So I might be putting out an awesome birthday episode. If you're a regular listener for the past 7 years, which is crazy, maybe a little bit more than 7 years actually, but let's say 7 years. It's I always love to celebrate birthdays and New Year just for one real reason, man. I don't give a damn about the cards and the gifts. I just really care about reflection. I get to look at where I'm at in life, who I am in life, who I'm becoming, who I'm helping. And it really gives me a massive opportunity to reflect on just my journey over the last, I'm 44 I'll be turning, which is wild. It's just wild in itself. I still feel 18. But, when I look back, I'm so glad I'm not any year before. Do you know what I mean? Some people want to be like 20 again or 30 again. And I definitely don't. Those were great times. I learned a lot of stuff, but I'm so happy that I know what I know. And I don't just necessarily mean in knowledge in regards to business and life and mental performance and all of those things. I just mean like an inner sense of peace. You know more what you don't like so you can stay away from it and lean into what you do like and what makes you happy. And that's really what I love. And there's a lot of lessons in it. You know what? I'm probably going to do that episode, that birthday episode. They're always interesting because I get a chance to reflect, get to pull out some journals, some notes, to look back on stuff. And it's powerful, man. It's powerful. And if you're not doing that, then you should be doing that. You should be doing that every month or every day or every quarter, but definitely every year. And just have a little reflection on, are you on the path that you want to be on, Because it's very easy to get caught up in an income stream or a way of life, and it doesn't make you happy. And at the end of the day, that's all life is. You're here to learn and grow and get lessons and ultimately be happy and enjoy it. And that's really what I want to bring into today's episode. If you don't know Alan Watts, then you're missing out, man. You're missing out on somebody who's really, really changed my life. There's a few guys in the world, and one of them is Ram Dass, who I've listened to thousands of hours, maybe not thousands, but definitely hundreds of hours of Ram Dass over the past 15 plus years. And Alan Watts is not always the easiest to understand. You really have to pay attention because the way he speaks, it's very theatrical. Let's use that word, right? Very theatrical, very studious. You know what I mean? He's come from a very academic background and would going back, into the 60s and stuff and 70s. And again, language in academia was important back then. It's not so as important now, right? No one really cares about colleges and universities. They really care about experience and results. So sorry if that's offended someone, but it's kind of the truth, man, And just to let you know about Alan Watts was a well-known British philosopher, writer, and speaker. He's best known for his interpretation on Eastern philosophy for Western audiences. And back then, that was new knowledge, you know what I mean? It was like you used to think everyone from the East was like mystics and levitating and doing magic, and hey, maybe they were, and we need a bit of that in our life. But he left behind more than 25 books and an audio library of more than 400 talks. And he's just a badass. So if you don't know him, definitely go and check him out. You're going to love him or love him. I was going to say hate him, but you can't really hate him. Just means you haven't listened deep enough to Alan. But when you do, he's really profound. He's really, really profound. And one of the things I like about Ram Dass, for example, Ram Dass was a psychology professor at Harvard University. And he was full on that way, Everything was by the book. And then one day he met a gentleman called Timothy Leary. And Timothy Leary was also another Harvard professor and introduced him to something called LSD, acid. Everything changed. Everything changed. He said he learned more in 24 hours on a deep acid trip than he did in 20 years of doing psychology and teaching it to people. Kind of probably the truth, man. If you've never done psychedelics or plant medicine, you need to, I'm not telling you to do it, but you need to probably do it once in your life at least, It's a perspective shifting, life-changing experience, and you can't see this world the same way again. It's just the truth. Do you even know in Steve Jobs' application back in the day for being in the creative team, that it was in the application, how many times have you done psychedelics? It was a necessity. And what was wild, if you've ever read his biography, he even says, if you've not done psychedelics, you cannot communicate with me. You cannot understand the way I see the world. So when you look at things like that, it makes me laugh. And more and more, states in the US are legalizing psilocybin, so it's magic mushrooms for therapeutic devices, right? Meaning like post-traumatic stress disorder with MDMA and all of these different stuff. And they're really understanding the science behind these things, which is pretty amazing, just to be able to help people through different, not just through classical pharmaceuticals or normal psychology or psychiatric modalities, right? There's other ways to do this. And that's why I love Ram Dass, because he really he was one of the first people, like Alan Watts, who went over to the East and brought back that philosophical knowledge and brought it into the Western world. And that's what I've learned a lot from, and definitely with Alan, right? So there's many ways to my life, and you're probably listening to this, you're probably on the same page as me to some degree. And there's obviously, I can go down the deep science with the neuroscience, the neuro-linguistic programming. We could go down the behavioral psychology, influence side, and that's important. I think it's important for sales, marketing. I think it's important for understanding human behavior, understanding your audience, and helping people, right? The more that you can communicate on subliminal levels as well as conscious levels, the more you can help people, man. You know what I mean? But there's also other things, other worlds that I live in and communicate with clients in, if they're ready to communicate with me in that way. Not everybody is, or not everybody wants to, right? It's hard sometimes to talk to a professional fighter back in the day about spirituality, right, and consciousness, because they don't want to hear it. And that's cool. It's the same with sometimes with business people and all the rest. So I just meet people where they're at and their view of the world. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. But when we start to understand, we can go down the science angle. We can also start to look at the principles of quantum physics. And again, classical quantum physics, it takes out the woo-woo, right? So it's not saying you can manifest reality and all of this. But if we understood how the brain works and the filter systems and everything in the structure of the brain, then we can start looking at quantum physics as a belief system, and that belief system then can form our reality. Although, you go down the quantum field, it's kind of way out there, but I'm not going to get into that debate today. The other way I see the world is spirituality. And whatever that means to you, whether it's a dedicated religion, or we're talking just understanding vibration or harmonics of the universe or frequency, or you believe there's an energy source that we're in that we can connect to, or things like that, right? That's where I come from too. And I believe all of those worlds or those perspectives are important. I really do believe they're important. They're important because they give us a much broader view of reality, you know? And I really do feel that we can bend reality, but I also feel that we're not in control of reality 100%, right? And that disagrees with a lot of people, because that's what a lot of people teach, but I really don't believe that. What I do believe is that we are big wave surfing. What does that mean? Well, it means it's a concept I've taught for many, many years around high performance and flow. So what does that mean? It means that, think about a surfer, right? I don't surf, but I've been around a lot of surfers all my life, and I'm sure you have too. You might be a surfer. But think about it when that big wave, and we've all seen those waves, right? Especially if you ever lived in California, they're insane. You can't even believe people are surfing them or on them, never mind it just in the ocean. It's insane. But people do it. And think about this, right? If that surfer isn't present, isn't focused on coming out of that wave alive and safe and nailing it, they're going to go into that wave and they're going to get destroyed. They just are, because they're going to be consciously thinking about what to do next instead of feeling and moving with the wave, right? But ultimately that wave is in control. You're not in control. You're riding that wave. Does that make sense? If that wave changes form, it's going to take you out. It's going to smash you, right? But the bigger the wave, the more power it's got, and the more you got to be a master at riding this wave. So when you start to understand that's really what life is, it's just about riding waves. And I really believe that we're here on Earth as, well, it's our soul's boot camp, you know, for our own soul's evolution. That's why it's so damn intense here. It's so crazy here. It's so wild on Earth, you know what I mean? It's not an easy ride for anybody, no matter what it looks like from the outside with people. It's insane, you know what I mean, in the most amazing way. But I really believe that Earth is just a boot camp for the soul. And when you can start to look at it like that, then every single thing becomes a lesson. And every single thing becomes a reflection of what your inner world is. And I really believe that things are going to happen to you. Like 12 years ago, right? My leg got snapped in half training up for an MMA fight. And again, that was a life-changing moment, because it redirected that I couldn't do martial arts the same way ever again for the rest of my life. And I've done it since I was 9 years old. So that completely redirected me. But guess what? Was I in control of my leg getting snapped in half? No, I was not in control. And did I manifest that reality? I don't believe so, no. What I do believe is that the universe, it took my leg out because I was going down the wrong direction and I was not learning the lessons. I was supposed to be moving deeper and deeper into helping people and growing business. And that's where all my attention should be for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? And when that happened, I remember falling on the ground, screaming. And this little voice said in my head, it was like, interesting. I wonder why that happened. And then I look back and I just explain the reason. And I know that's the reason, because I'm very hard-headed and I'll keep doing the same thing even if it's hurting me, you know? I'm learning. We're all learning. Soul Boot Camp, right? So what today is about with Alan Watts' episode, I'm going to put clips out. I'm going to do my little 2 cents thing as we do on Mindset by Design. And this is about a journey through you. And understand this. This is your journey of life. And we think we're in control. We're not. We're merely big wave surfing. Does that make sense? Probably not, but we're going to get into it. So speaking of getting into it, I want you to make sure that if you're growing a business, you're heading over to theradicalformula.com. We've got a 15-minute training there with myself and Ryan Alford, and we are teaching you what brand and brain hacking is all about. 15 minutes, and I bet you it's one of the best trainings you've ever watched. We've got the mastermind coming out next week, which I'm so pumped about. You definitely should be part of that one. If you're wanting to scale a business from 6 to 7 figures and you want to cut through the noise of 2022 and social media, then guess what? You need to be joining the Radical Formula community. It's the most affordable we can ever make it because we want it in the hands of thousands of people, and you can be joining that right now. So, theradicalformula.com. Go and check it out. And the big training's coming soon. Actually, we're just finishing that up. So you're going to have a cool 30-minute training. It's badass. It looks so good. One of Ryan's superpowers. And then also, if you are a trader, crypto, forex, stocks, options, then you are going to want to have the Genius Trader.club course in your hands. You're going to want it right now. It is the premier, and I'm saying this right now, it is the premier mental training system that exists for traders on earth. And right now it's at a crazy 75% discount of what it's going to be in a few months. So you should be going to grab that. So if you're a trader from amateur to pro, this is for you. If you are scaling your business from 6 to 7, go to theradicalformula.com. Either way, make sure you're connecting with me on social media. Just Andy Murphy Mindset. You will find me. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Find me. You got it. Right? So go and do that right now. And I will see you at the end of the show. Let's go and hang out with Mr. Alan Watts.
You see, the problem is this. We identify in our experience a differentiation between what we do and what happens to us. We have a certain number of actions that we define as voluntary, and we feel in control of those. And then over against that, there is all those things that are involuntary. But the dividing line between these two is very arbitrary. Because, for example, when you move your hand, you feel that you decide whether to open it or to close it. But then ask yourself, how do you decide? When you decide to open your hand, do you first decide to decide? You don't, do you? You just decide, and how do you do that? And if you don't know how you do it, is it voluntary or involuntary? Let's consider breathing. You can feel that you breathe deliberately. You can control your breath. But when you don't think about it, it goes on. Is it voluntary or involuntary? And so we come to have a very arbitrary definition of self. That much of my activity which I feel I do. And that then doesn't include breathing most of the time. It doesn't include the heartbeats. It doesn't include the activity of the glands. It doesn't include digestion. It doesn't include how you shape your bones, circulate your blood. Do you or do you not do these things? Now, if you get with yourself and you find out that you are all of yourself, a very strange thing happens. You find that your body knows that you are one with the universe. In other words, that the so-called involuntary circulation of your blood is one continuous process with the stars shining. If you find out that it's you who circulates your blood, you will at the same moment find out that you are shining the sun. Because your physical organism is one continuous process with everything else that's going on. Just as the waves are continuous with the ocean, your body is continuous with the total energy system of the cosmos. And it's all you. Only you're playing the game that you're only this bit of it.
Let me jump in there, crew. Let me jump in there. I love that, right? We go deep into Deep Alan's world, right? And it's so powerful. And you might go, yes, what about this? Well, Andy, you teach that the involuntary action is actually an unconscious response. It's the software. It's the body mind. That's what blinks and breathes. And that's absolutely correct. And he's also saying that. But what he's also saying is that just like we are individual inside of the human species, right? We think we're individual, but if we chunked up high enough and look down, all we see is a mass of humans, right? And if we were to identify that, we wouldn't identify the individual, we identify that as the human species, right? It's like looking at a colony of ants. We see individual ants, but we don't identify them as individual beings. What we do is go, that's a colony of ants, right? It's the same with the ocean on Earth. We give names to them all, but they're still the same water, right? Although it's not the same water, but it is the same water. And that's what they're talking about with the universe, right? If we look at ourselves as a droplet of water or a droplet in the ocean, then guess what? We are part of the ocean, although we are in the individual droplet. The individual droplets make up the ocean. Does that make sense? So it's the same with energy. It's the same with energy. And in quantum physics, they call this entanglement, where every single thing is interconnected energetically through subatomic particles, atoms, right? Every single thing is interconnected. And when we understand that, then it becomes mind-blowing. You might be going, yeah. No, sit there for a moment and really get your head around what that means. You are part of the sun. You are part of the stars from 100 million light years ago. You are part of the future. You are part of the past. You are part of your parents. You are part of the person that you hate or don't like, or someone doesn't like you. You are part of money. You are part of everything. And when you understand that, then if you truly understand that, then what that means is the emotion or the energy that you're putting out into the world is directly affecting those things that are around you and inside of you, your cells or the people's cells, right? The sale of your company, the money that you're bringing in and putting out. Does this make sense? So when you start to understand that, then it becomes a deep responsibility for your own life, your own existence, your own happiness, your own success. Does this make sense? So I really want you to probably want to listen to this episode a couple of times and share it with 20 people. But I want you to really take on what the significance of that means. It's like when we go back to look in history, people like Martin Luther King and Gandhi and all of these people, no matter what people come out with stories and this and that about these people, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the way they impacted people. Well, that is a vibration, an energy, a frequency. Even the words that you say, people feel it a certain way. And when you truly understand that, you'll be pondering on it for months if you truly understood exactly what that really means.
But as I tried to explain, there are in physical reality no such things as separate events. Doesn't it really astonish you that you are this fantastically complex thing? And that you're doing all of this and you never had any education in how to do it? You never learned, but you're this miracle? Well, the point is that from a strictly physical, scientific standpoint, This organism is a continuous energy with everything else that's going on. And if I am my foot, I am the sun. Only we've got this little partial view. We've got the idea that, no, I'm just something in this body, the ego. That's a joke. The ego is nothing other than the focus of conscious attention. It's like a radar on a ship. The radar on a ship is a troubleshooter. Is there anything in the way? And conscious attention is a designed function of the brain to scan the environment, like a radar does, and note for any trouble-making changes. But if you identify yourself with your troubleshooter, then naturally you define yourself as being in a perpetual state of anxiety.
Just jumping in there, crew. So I love that definition, and it depends on what you conceive as the ego, right? So many people have different definitions, and really the ego to me is what keeps us on earth. It's like the battle that we're having. But another way to look at that, a much simpler way, is again, it's the fight or flight response in your brain. That's your default safety mechanism. So that's why you're able to stay safe, basically. It's a primal part of our brain system. It's part of our genetics. It's the reason that you're looking at the floor when you're walking down a path in the woods or along the beach. Why are we looking at the floor? Aren't we supposed to be looking at the beautiful trees and the ocean? No, we're looking at the floor to make sure there's no holes or snakes that we're going to fall down or get bitten by. So that's the ego, right? It wants to always make you or keep you safe. It does that by holding you back. It does that by keeping you in a box. It does that by remembering the past and living in trauma, negativity, low vibes, right? It also comes over in insecurity. It can come over in arrogance, right? Bling, bling. Trying to project a version of yourself to the world that isn't real, but inside it hurts you, right? Because really it's a defense mechanism. And when we understand that's the ego, what Alan's about to say, whether he just said it or he's about to say it, is that we have to learn to disconnect from it. Now, people talk about ego death. I really don't believe there's ego death. I really don't. And people say that in the plant medicine world. Oh, I've done these plant medicines and there's ego death. And then you go, really? And they're like, oh, yes, it's da-da-da-da. If you haven't heard these people, then there's nothing wrong with this, but the ego isn't dead. It's like cutting off your arm. It's a part of you, right? It's a part of you. But it's learning how to use it and disconnect from it. In classical psychology, they actually teach to have a healthy ego. Now, I disagree with that completely. You should be driven from your purpose and your heart. That's what drives you, not ego to prove something. And it's crazy. Again, we're not going into that discussion around that concept around ego. And that's classical psychology, by the way. I just think it's insane, and I don't understand it, and I completely disagree with it. But hey, what do I know, right? But what I believe and teach is that you have to be disconnected from your ego, because your ego wants to get fed. It wants to get fed with pain and suffering and scarcity. And really, again, it's just to keep you safe inside of a box, because it knows what's inside that box. It's really control. So when we step into the unknown, we're out of control, and the ego wants to pull you back into control. So that's why when we think about the future sometimes, and it's the unknown, we're launching a new project, etc., we get anxious, we get nervous. But what is that? Well, that could be adrenaline. If you've ever been an athlete or a performer and you've been on stage or in front of the lights, it's like the anxiety. Well, it's not really anxiety. It's adrenaline. And that part of the brain is it's closely triggered between adrenaline and anxiety. And that's just a decision and a way to be able to learn to control that difference. But ultimately, it's just a default safety mechanism that we have to learn to disconnect from so we can move forwards. And it's also outdated primal genetics, right? So that's the ego.
And the moment we cease to identify with the ego, and become aware that we are the whole organism, you realize as the first thing how harmonious it all is. Because your organism is a miracle of harmony. All this thing functioning together. Even those corpuscles and creatures that are fighting each other in the bloodstream and eating each other up. If they weren't doing that, you wouldn't be healthy. So what is discord at one level of your being is harmony at a higher level. And you begin to realize that, and you begin to be aware too that the discords of your life and the discords of people's life, which are a fight at one level, at a higher level of the universe, are healthy and harmonious. And you suddenly realize that everything that you are and do is at that level as magnificent and as free of any blemish as the patterns in waves, the markings in marble, the way a cat moves, and that this world is really okay and can't be anything else, because otherwise it couldn't exist. So then, if you awaken from this illusion, you can feel yourself not as a stranger in the world, not as something here on probation, not as something that has arrived here by fluke, but you can begin to feel your own existence as absolutely fundamental. What you are basically, deep, deep down, far, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.
So my question to wrap this up today is, what are you pretending you're not? What are you pretending you're not? Are you really living the life that you choose to? Are you really doing what you want to? And even if you're not right now, are you taking steps towards what you truly know you want to do? That's all that life is. It's an experience. There's no rules, there's no right, there's no wrong. You can't fail. It's just an experience. And it's like playing a computer game, right? Can you really fail at a computer game? No, what you do, you just start again, right? That's all you do is start again. And whether you believe in reincarnation, it depends, right? If you're going down the Hindu or the Buddhist, then yeah, you get another go at this. So why wouldn't you just give it your best? If we knew we had levels to go up in life, then why wouldn't we just go up the levels? Because it's way better up there. We've all been broke. We've all had success. Isn't life easier or nicer when you've got money and success and you're doing what you want to do? Doesn't life suck when you have to go to a job that you don't like? Right. And even if you're doing what you love each day and you can pay the bills and everything's good, then you win. You know what I mean? Not everyone's supposed to go after millions of dollars. Not everyone's supposed to be the queen bee in a hive, right? They need worker bees. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean the queen's better than the worker bees. No, the worker bees and the queen, they're a unit. They're a team. There's synergy. The queen can't exist without the worker bees. The worker bees can't exist without the queen. That's what Alan's talking about. Everything is synergistic. Everything interacts. There is a cause and an effect to everything. Every decision that we make, every action we take or do not take. Does this make sense? So I really want you to look at your life. I really want you to look into your heart. I really want you to look into the truth of how you're living and how you want to experience your life. Because if you're not experiencing it the way you want it, then make a difference. Make a change. Get to the truth, man. Right? From all of my journeys of 20 years of doing this, and it's wild to look back, from working in a car factory to working in computers to jumping over to the other side of the world at 24 on my own, to become one of the top performers in Australia in investment real estate, and I learned high-level sales, which was NLP. Then I got headhunted to multiple companies in New Zealand because we got headhunted to New Zealand, broke every record in every company, started my own development company, took that project I was building a resort in Fiji. You took that to Dubai to sell down next to the Palms, the Burj Khalifa, all of these things back in the day, to go through them bankruptcy, nervous breakdown after my business partner stealing all my money and my dad's money, watching me go into nervous breakdown, bankruptcy, losing everything, to living and training in an MMA gym, to then moving to LA, to then rebranding myself and learning and how working with performers from royalty to Hollywood actors, producers, world champions, Fortune 500 CEOs, to it goes on, right, to all digital celebrities, NBC stars. And me talking to you at this moment, right? And now we're launching a finance company, and we've got the Radical Formula Mastermind, and we've got the Genius Trader, and we've got all the other products, and this Mindset by Design. What are we on? 345 episodes, and I'm only just beginning. And I've also lived in 7, 8 different countries. Life is a crazy, crazy adventure. And we don't really know what's going to happen next, right? But what we do know is everything that we love in our life right now, there was a moment before it arrived that we didn't even know it existed. That person that you adore so much, well, there was a moment before they arrived that you didn't know they existed. So what else is out there that you have no idea is awesome? What else is out there that you have no idea is possible? What else is out there to experience and play with and enjoy and learn from? You got no idea, right? So we can stay where we are, or we can go into the unknown and just see, right? Because once you've lost everything, then you know what that experience is like. And I'm lucky enough to have lost everything, to have been homeless. I'm lucky enough because then nothing's fearful because I've been there, right? So everything else is awesome. And now I have a certain level of life, of success, happiness, got money, everything, freedom. And that's what I want for every single person listening to this more than anything. I want you to live your life, whatever that means. Okay? So there we go, crew. I'm going to wrap this up. That's the end of episode 345. Probably want to listen to this one again. Probably want to go and share this with another 20 people. And probably want to go and join the radicalformula.com and take your business from 6 to 7 figures. And probably want to get freedom if you're a trader through the geniustrader.club. Yeah, go and do those. I'm here to help. I'm here to give it everything you've got. And I'm here to show you what I've learned from working with thousands and thousands of people over the past 20 years. And it's your turn. It's your turn. It's your turn, because I'm learning from so many people, and I want you to learn from my pain, my wisdom, so you never go there and you can take the fast track. So go do that, and I will see you on the next episode. Until then, you have an amazing week. Much, much love, and oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.